In just one night, the Spanish city on the African coast received an influx of people equal to 70% of its population. 60,000 migrants from Morocco broke through the border into the Spanish enclave of Ceuta, as stated personally by the mayor of the Spanish city, Juan Jesus Vivas. Once again, 60,000 illegal migrants from Morocco stormed into the Spanish city of Ceuta, all in just one day.
In just one night in the Spanish city of Ceuta. In just one night in the Spanish city of Ceuta.
Subtitles created by Dima Torzak. We're bringing it out.
Spain has already brought armed forces into the city. Dozens of people are known to have died, and Italy is threatening to suspend the Schengen agreement with Spain because of this crisis and is rushing to close its borders. Let's break everything down step by step in this episode. Lay everything out clearly. What is this city and why have tens of thousands of people suddenly rushed there right now? And what does Russia have to do with this, as it has suddenly intensified economic ties with Morocco at the same time, which is where the migrants are coming from? But I'll give you a spoiler right away. What's happening now in the Spanish city is the fault of the Spanish authorities themselves, who made a very strange legislative decision. My name is Pechiy. Let's break everything down step by step. I'll explain what's happening, why it's happening right now, and how it even happened. 60,000 people in a single day. Just imagine that. We'll go through all of this, but before we start, I ask you to subscribe to this channel. We're moving toward the milestone of 300,000 subscribers, so I'd appreciate every subscription.
Oh my god, oh my god. Oh my god.
Oh my god, my god.
There's some cheese left.
To be continued.
Subtitles by Dima Torzak. That's it. Subtitles adjusted by Simon.
Thank you for watching.
Subtitles made by Dima Torzak.
For watching.
To be continued.
Subtitles by Dima Torzak. Here he is. Thank you for watching. Thank you for...
We've all already seen the news about how one of Spain's towns is now under all-out attack by illegal migrants. We've seen those scenes of the border being breached when hundreds of people break through and fill this Spanish town. But let's start with the basics. What kind of city is Ceuta, and why do tens of thousands of migrants break into it so freely? It's a Spanish city, but it's not located in Spain. It's on the northern coast of Africa, right on the territory of Morocco. It's a Spanish enclave inside another country, and legally it's considered Spanish territory. Together with the neighboring Melilla, these are the only two places on the planet where the European Union has a land border with Africa. So these towns are also part of the European Union, and that's official. The population of Ceuta is about 85,000 people. So imagine, in a city where officially 85,000 people live, an additional 60,000 people enter in just a few hours. That's not an influx, that's the city being almost doubled in population. It's basically a border breach and an actual invasion by 60,000 people. If the city has a population of 85,000, then the police force, as you can imagine, is literally just a couple thousand people at most, who simply can't stop a flow of 60,000 migrants who broke into the city in just one day. And it's important to understand that before the assault, someone was clearly coordinating these people inside Morocco. This wasn't a spontaneous border breach, it was a planned action. Thanks for watching. Right now, after all, Ceuta has existed for decades, and migrants from Morocco have tried to get there before. The reason is specific and legal, and you might be surprised, but it is actually the Spanish authorities who are to blame for what is happening now in Ceuta. On July 8, the Supreme Court of Spain issued a ruling that banned the practice of so-called pushbacks. This is when border guards catch a person right at the border and immediately, without any procedures, send them back to Morocco. Previously, this was done to absolutely everyone who tried to cross the border, whether by land or by sea. If a border guard got hold of a migrant, they would simply be sent back across the border, back to Morocco. So there were no formalities. If someone was caught, they were immediately sent back. That was it, problem solved. But on July 8, the Spanish Supreme Court changed that. Those who climb over a physical barrier, for example, over a fence, and those who were intercepted at sea while trying to swim across, can no longer be deported instantly. No, they are entitled to a proper legal procedure, meaning the border guard has to take them, process them, place them somewhere temporarily, provide everything necessary, and so on. So the police's hands are tied. They see this illegal immigrant. They see a violation of the law, they see a border breach, they see an invasion. But under the new law, they are now required to accept this migrant and provide assistance instead of deporting them. And here the simplest logic kicked in, which was immediately picked up by smugglers who transport people for money. Now, crossing by sea is safer from a legal standpoint than climbing over the fence, so naturally, everyone rushed into the water, and the number of attempts sharply increased immediately after the verdict was announced. And if before they recorded about 100 people a day, then, on July 30, within a few hours, thousands crossed the border, and by the morning of the 31st, the number had reached tens of thousands. And at the time of recording this episode, more than 60,000 migrants had crossed the border in a single day. What did this look like physically? People swam from the Moroccan city of Fnidek, which is about 5 kilometers by water, using inflatable rings on inner tubes and other improvised means. They went around the breakwaters at Tarajal Beach and came ashore. Already in Spain, some people simply broke through the gates in the fence and ran into the city. Some, once on Spanish soil, shouted, "Long live Scania!" The police just watched. Locals are already saying that when the fences were broken after midnight, hundreds of people ran through the gap in just a few minutes. And local entrepreneurs started organizing themselves to protect their businesses, not relying on the police. Well, because there just aren't enough police officers. And the price of this border breach is human lives. On Thursday, 9 bodies were found, bringing the total number of people who have died trying to reach Ceuta in recent months to 60-some drowned. Others died in the crush at the breakwater on Tarajal Beach. The authorities' response was delayed. Only this morning did Spain send military units to Ceuta. The army is supposed to help the police maintain order. The Prime Minister of Spain, Pedro Sánchez, and the Minister of the Interior, Fernando Grande Marlaska, personally flew to this city. At the same time, the central government refused to introduce a nationwide state of emergency, despite specific requests from local authorities. The Spanish Interior Ministry stated that it has already sent back more than 25,000 people to Morocco, and the deportations are proceeding at a rate of, listen to this, 150 people per minute. So in fact, they're just trying to push them out again. Morocco, for its part, has also strengthened border control, trying to prevent new mass crossings. Now let's talk about why this episode caused a rift between European Union countries. Italy has already harshly criticized Spain. Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni stated that uncontrolled migration threatens European borders and allowed for the possibility of introducing restrictions for people arriving in Italy from Spain. In other words, she essentially threatened to suspend the Schengen Agreement specifically with Spain. And what is Schengen? Well, let me briefly remind you, it's a zone in Europe where you can freely move from one country to another without passport control. And suspending it with a specific country means bringing back passport control at the border. In other words, partially destroying one of the main freedoms of the European Union. Italy's Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani went even further and linked this to another decision by the Spanish government. So it wasn't just the Supreme Court's decision there. This is a recent plan to legalize about 500,000 illegal migrants who are already in the country. The Spanish authorities said, since you're already here illegally, we'll just legalize all of you at once and let you live and work. And so, according to Tajani, this decision is deeply mistaken and encourages human trafficking, because that's how smugglers operate. Now the main thing is just to get a person into Spain, and then Spain will legalize them. They didn't stay silent. The head of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, José Manuel Alice Albares, called Tajani's words inappropriate and said that he expects solidarity from an EU partner, not demagoguery. Let us add that they will summon the Italian ambassador for an official protest. Even the White House in Washington has already commented. They linked the migration crisis in Ceuta to the policies pursued by the Spanish government. So in fact, they supported the criticism directed primarily at Pedro Sanchez. And Donald Trump stated that if Americans vote for the Democrats in the November elections, they will face the same situation as in Spain today. Now, the most interesting part of the question, which you are probably waiting for, what does Russia have to do with this? And here we need to be completely honest. There is no direct connection between these two events, but there is a notable coincidence in timing. On the same day, July 31, it became known that Russia started importing benzene is Morocco. According to Reuters, a tanker under the Panamanian flag arrived at the Arctic port of Murmansk with about 30,000 tons of AI-92 gasoline which had been loaded at the Moroccan port of Tangier back in mid-July. The supplier was Lukoil, and the gasoline is already being sold on the St. Petersburg Commodity and Raw Materials Exchange with delivery by rail. Why is Russia buying gasoline abroad at all? And I should note that Morocco is already the third country after India and other suppliers. It would seem a country that's basically a gas station, a country with huge oil reserves. But now it's even buying gasoline from Morocco. The reason is simple. Ukrainian drone strikes on Russian oil refineries, and they have knocked out a huge part of their capacity. Gasoline production in the country has dropped to about 65% of the usual summer consumption. That's why there's a fuel shortage inside Russia and forced purchases, including imports from abroad. Now, even from Morocco. So yes, Russia has started working specifically with Morocco, the very country from which migrants flee to Spain. But this is purely a commercial fuel deal caused by Ukrainian strikes on Russian refineries, and it has nothing to do with the migration crisis in Ceuta. And linking these two events into one conspiracy theory would be dishonest. One is about the decision of the Spanish court and about smuggling. The other is about the Kremlin's oil logistics. But if the Kremlin sees an opportunity to destabilize the European Union in the migration crisis, don't doubt it, the Kremlin will immediately take advantage of it. What's next? Well, it's still unclear whether Spain will declare a state of emergency if the flow of migrants doesn't stop. At the moment, the authorities are trying to stop this flow of migrants with the help of the army. Italy could actually suspend the Schengen Agreement specifically with Spain, which would set a precedent within the European Union. And now Morocco is under pressure from both sides. From Spain, which is asking to tighten border control, and from its own smugglers, who will keep looking for loopholes in Spain's new court ruling to send as many illegal migrants to Spain as possible. This is one of those cases where a single court decision, a single legislative act can have such severe consequences. I'll leave it at that. Share your opinions and conclusions in the comments below this episode, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and don't forget to like. That's all for now. Take care. Goodbye, everyone.